Hey everyone, welcome to High Heels and Hay Bales, the podcast where polished meets practical, legal meets lifestyle, and debt meets dirt.
I'm Kristen, your resident farm lady, keeping it real about motherhood, homesteading, and the funny side of figuring out life.
And I'm Adrienne, aka the Ladylike Lawyer. I'm here to help you make sense of money, debt, and the legal stuff without boring you to tears.
So kick off your boots or heels and let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Welcome back, everyone, to the High Heels and Hay Bales podcast. Kristen and I are back for yet another episode of Fantabulous wandering around in our own minds. Today, we have decided that we're going to talk about the concept of manifesting and our personal beliefs that you simply cannot manifest your way out of capitalism. We're going to explain why. Come along for the ride and let us know how you think after the end of all of this. But Kristen, I'm kind of excited about this episode today.
It's very heavy. When you said this is what we should talk about, I was like, yes, because this week alone, I was like, I'm going to make, $150 just from my market stand because I'm going to focus and it's going to happen. People are going to just show up. They don't show up if you don't tell people it's there or have more than 3 zucchini. And you can't make $150 on zucchini, 3 of them.
Right? Like, who are these people out here just telling us to just dream it up and that it will all come to you? I mean, I understand the concept, but I think we're going to try to break down the self-help culture, the manifestation hustle. We're going to try and do it in a sincere way because, listen, I love some of this stuff, and I understand that, the Brene Browns of the world are just giving us little snippets, but I mean, it is fun. And it sure does seem like if you do all the things these people say that your life's going to get better, right?
Right. But then you realize that they're in it for the money. And then how genuine is it?
Amen, sister. There is always an end game. And as two people who are on social media and who do make money off of social media, you and I do absolutely understand the ways in which this is done, and why it works for so many people who are selling products, but it doesn't necessarily work so much for those of us who are consuming them. And so let's break down why, right?
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, positive vibes are great, but they don't pay the rent. So what is manifestation really supposed to be? It is supposed to be the concept of focusing your thoughts and energy towards a goal, practicing gratitude, and believing in yourself. And let me say that on its face, what we're really describing is self-confidence, right? Like that's what it seems like to me. Is that just self-confidence, focusing on your thoughts and energies towards a goal, practicing gratitude, and believing in yourself?
Yeah, I never thought of it that way before.
I just really thought of it as we were coming up on this because there are some things I think that really do work, right? Like I learned a long time ago when I was a receptionist for the law firm that if you answer the phone and you physically smile, you sound like you're not upset. Like you sound happier. And I'm doing it right now. I can't be miserable if I'm smiling, right?
Right.
So that's, things like that, things that that does help your body. I have been taught by therapists and things like that to, say things out loud in the mirror so that you can hear yourself saying this. You can say them, I am a powerful person. I am going to do great today. I am going to crush it. Like those are good things because I think they help your mind remember that you're not in a death spiral all the time, and it kind of can help you regulate where you're at. It can help you focus on being positive because being positive means that you're going to receive more information, and we all receive information every day. We just don't know what's important. So no question that telling yourself that you're fabulous is helpful, and it really does help with the self-confidence. And I want to encourage everybody out there to just look into the mirror if you're in the car right now and scream, "I'm a badass," with a smile on your face, and look yourself in the eye. And I'm telling you, you're going to feel a little bit more powerful. But do we need to pay thousands of dollars for this?
No, because here's the thing. Those positive affirmations are absolutely an amazing thing. They can reset your brain if you do them. I mean, there's that pattern thing that if you do something for 21 days in a row, it becomes like it's habit or whatever the word. I don't know. My oldest was kind of struggling with self-confidence. She still does. She's 11.
Sure.
And I sat down one night and took out construction paper and made little bubbles and hearts and things. And I just wrote positive affirmations. And I stuck them going up the wall into her bedroom and on her door, so that when she walked downstairs or back upstairs, she saw all of the good things. And it changed the way she was thinking about things and the way she was looking at herself. So that does work. And that cost me 2 sheets of construction paper, not $5,000.
Well, you'd have been pretty ticked off if you had paid $500 and gotten a PDF from some rando person that said, "Hey, put little construction paper, nice things all over your kids' walls," and they walk away with $500 in their pocket. And I think that's really the issue here.
Yep.
Is especially when we're talking about the we fundamentally talk about finances, right? And so how it impacts our finances is important here, because I think a lot of us waste a lot of time and money trying to find the quick, easy way out of our problems without acknowledging that this is going to require more work. And I don't think that the self-help category or the financial self-help, however you want to catalog these, is any different here.
No, we've talked about this before. I'm a TikTok Shop affiliate. So a lot of my income, the majority of my income, comes from TikTok Shop. There has been an upheaval in sales. It's a whole freaking nightmare right now. I went from making like $150 a day to $2 today. Like I made $15 just like, it's panicking me. But there are people that are just manifest the money coming in. Just think it's going to come in. Guys, no, that's not how this works. And then on the other hand of it, you have the people that I've made $1 million and whatever on TikTok Shop, and this is how you do it. You just have to pay $19.95 for my course, and then $65 a month after for a year. Like, and I get it, get your bag, but like, dang, man.
Yeah, that's where we're at. We're taking simple concepts that we should all, of course, be adhering to and following, but somehow we're putting magical qualities in it and slapping money down for somebody to tell us stuff that we probably kind of already know a little bit, and basic things that we could be doing on our own. I think the issue here, and to be clear, I love myself a good Mel Robbins or, Brene Brown. Are Mel Robbins and Tony Robbins related, do you think? I don't know.
I don't know.
I should have looked that up. But
you know what? See, this is where, like, I know who Brene Brown is. I know who Tony Robbins is. I also get just so mad knowing how much money they make taking some certain things, taking advantage of people. Like, it just pisses me off. Like,
well, I agree that, I think that's what we're talking about when that type of stuff turns toxic. To be clear, I do enjoy myself some good Brene Brown every once in a while. And somebody once called me a bankruptcy version of Brene Brown. So I recognize that I'm an influencer, right? Like, I am an influencer too. I get it. As we start to talk, I'm going to go through a few things that I think separate me as an influencer and highlight some of the concerns that we have about this type of stuff. But I very honestly put myself in this own category because I influence and I talk about bankruptcy on the internet. And I like these things. I think that we can get information from them.
Right.
However, I think it turns toxic when you start to believe that, whatever's happening to you, you're still broke even after, going through the first 2 weeks of this program. And they start to tell you, well, it's because your chakras aren't aligned or something. Suddenly it becomes, if you try harder, then it will happen for you.
Or
If
there's
you're
an
not
additional course that
an
you can
additional
pay.
course, if you try, if your life isn't changing, it's your fault. You need to pay more. You need to do more. Those are obviously where it becomes just incredibly toxic. I don't know a lot about Scientology, but I mean, it kind of sounds like that. You keep paying for those extra courses to get closer and closer to whatever. So it is not new. This is how people make money.
Right.
And, I go to conferences for people who create content on the internet. And those conferences, they're wall to wall with vendors who are trying to sell me something to make my content creation even better, right?
Yep.
Like there's always something I could be doing. There's always more software, more expensive this, more expensive that. There's always more. And I listened to a really great guy last time I was at this seminar, and he really broke it down like, why you don't need the fancy camera, why you don't need this, right? Why you need quality. Your content needs to be quality. And I got to listen to him for free. And I probably got the most information out of him because he wasn't trying to sell me something. He was just there to speak at a conference. So he got paid to be there. But that's what I felt finally. You see when people are being honest with you, there's something meaningful to that.
Right. That's why, like, I talk about bankruptcy on my platform, and I think there are people out there in the finance world that will say, I'll walk you through all your finances, and then, I'll help guide you to a bankruptcy attorney or whatever. And they're purposefully selling something. And I just want people to know that there's options. I follow your line of, hey, this is not supposed to be shameful. And I appreciate that so much. I've learned so much from you about that.
No, I get it. I mean, I think there's a lot of people in this space, right? So we've got self-care influencers, we've got self-help gurus, we've got life coaches, right? We have abundance mentors. We have people, personalities, content creators on Instagram and TikTok that are, selling, money activation programs for $100, right? My sister is famous for, is buying crazy stuff off of Instagram, thinking that it's going to make her life better. I know people who do that. Journals and planners, right? Those are supposed to really make our lives easier. And if you're ADHD, stay away from these. They're not for you. It doesn't matter what planner you get. It will never, ever work because we are fundamentally not really designed to operate with planners. And if you keep saying to yourself, if it was just a different planner, if I could just put it all on the wall, if I could just have the perfect thing, somebody's going to keep selling you that. And please believe me, I bought all the planners. I have the thing on my wall. That's what I'm talking about. We need to stop this.
It's an ADHD, or it's anti-planner. It's built for ADHD people. I have never
How's that
opened
working
it.
for you?
I'm a suck. I mean, here's the thing. It all roots back to capitalism. I mean, everybody's got to make a dollar. You've got to make a dollar somehow. And so there's always some sucker that's going to buy the planner that's going to change your life, or the program that's going to manifest you $5 million or allow you to retire 10 years earlier, whatever. Like, it's not just, I mean, there's school programs that are geared towards lower income folks. When Jeremy, my husband, and I were married maybe a year, I thought, oh, I'm going to take this course. It's $650, and I'm going to be a medical billing and coding specialist in 9 months. And then turns out it was a sham, but they got my money.
Yeah.
And I got a whole hell of a lot of nothing. And that's so common because it's all rooted in capitalism.
Well, sure. I mean, even me a couple of years ago, as I was thinking about leaving, my traditional job as a lawyer, I obviously I love public speaking, and I went to a conference and I ended up signing up for like a $10,000 course that lasted like 6 months on how to become a public speaker. Honestly, you know me, Kristen.
Right,
What's the
I
most
do.
ridiculous part of that entire statement?
The
The
entire
most
thing.
ridiculous part of all of it is that I have no problems being a public speaker.
Yeah.
I mean, it did teach me a few things like about the business of public speaking, and it taught me like, how to actually look for the type of gigs that you want. But honestly,
You probably could have
was a
found it on
tremendous
YouTube.
I probably could have. And I think it's also fair to point out, Kristen, that a lot of people are thinking to themselves, well, pay a little bit more to have the information come straight to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. I mean, that's just convenience. It's no different than door dashing to some extent. But the reminder here is that if you're spending money, right, you need to make sure that this information isn't available to you free somehow.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you need to understand exactly what it is you're paying for. When I met this conference for content creators, I want everybody to understand that anybody who's making content on a significant basis, they're doing it to try to make money somehow.
Mm-hmm.
There is, we call it a funnel. The funnel is getting everybody to say hi and like what you're doing, and then you drop into the funnel, and then you narrow it down, and there's always a call. We call it a call to action.
Mm-hmm.
Every single influencer, every single person out there selling something understands the funnel and the call to action. And if you don't understand what the call to action is, then it's probably you. Then it's probably your wallet. So, that's really important to understand. And that alone, I think, is going to give a lot of people some insight, because I'm not sure I understood the deep level of what was going on before I entered into this space. A lot of these content creators you see, you think they're practicing lawyers, and they haven't practiced law in 3 years since their YouTube channel took off, and this is all they do now. These are a lot of things, but it looks like they're going to practice law every day. I do want to say I do practice law every day.
She does. She really,
I do.
Truly
we
does.
have to schedule everything around my bankruptcy hearings and clients. So I do practice law every day. It's half of what I do every single day for minimum. So, but that is important to remember, and people need to be aware of that.
Right. And I mean, in my world, it's a lot of it is, I have no idea what that's probably part of my problem. TikTok Shop took over, and that's where I go most of the time. But
right.
Sometimes there are content creators that just share what's going on to share.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what I do. And then sometimes I say something and it motivates people, and then it goes crazy, and I'm like, well, shit, maybe I'm a motivational speaker. And then 2 days later, I'm like, this is the worst thing in the world, and I hate my life. I don't know. I'm a hot mess. But there are some content creators that are incredible, where you don't even realize that they're getting you.
And that's okay. Listen,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're getting news and information, just always be aware of what you're paying, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is just the way the world works. It's capitalism. There's nothing inherently wrong with influencers trying to sell you a money activation program. That's their right to try to sell it to you, but you have to be a little bit more aware of kind of what's going on there.
Right.
There are a lot of content creators out there who are doing good stuff, but I want to make sure we know that toxic positivity and the weaponizing of it, these are phrases that should concern you, right? Everything happens for a reason, or money is just energy, that kind of stuff. I think it's important to understand, and we'll get to this in a little while, that a lot of what this, this little bits of information that are being thrown at us, they often dismiss, trauma, mental health issues, and systemic inequality, things we'll talk about as we keep going here. But it's important to understand that, there's a limit here, and you should try to find out how this person is getting paid.
Right.
But here's what I will do. Since we've been talking about me a little bit and my influencing, I am a lawyer. I'm a licensed attorney in the state of Ohio. I've been practicing. This is my 29th year, and I go to the internet a lot. I've got a fairly decent size account where I talk about bankruptcy law. And I want to talk about really the 4 things that separate some of these people from the ones that you probably should be listening to, including myself, right? And the first thing, the first issue that everybody should have with whomever they're dealing with on the internet in this space is whether or not these people have any legal responsibility to you. And like that's the biggest, that's just absolutely the biggest thing here. I look at these people like the Dave Ramseys, and I just, these people are not trained, right? And if you listen to them and you screw up your life, like there's no legal accountability there.
Right.
And they're like, oh, you misunderstood what I said, right?
Right. Right.
And when I came to the internet to, create my brand and start doing what I do, that was always a primary concern of mine. I behave on the internet the same way I behave in my practice. So if you send me a private message, I keep it private. I don't solicit. I don't reach out to anybody unless they reach out to me first. I constantly am giving advice, information that is not advice, but information that I know and things that I've understood that have worked in my jurisdiction. But my primary goal is to give people a general understanding of what bankruptcy is and to ask them to turn in and take the information that I'm giving to them for free and go find somebody to expand on that. I don't ever want somebody to act on, do something legally because they saw my video. I want them to shift in and talk to somebody near them who can navigate them in their details, because that's how I was taught. I have ethical responsibilities. And if I send somebody astray, my law license is in jeopardy. And I think about that every single day that I take to the internet. And that's one thing that you don't get when you're following, somebody on the internet and you're taking their advice.
Well, I mean, realistically,
what are you paying for?
Well, I'm the person that has no legal responsibility to this.
Yes.
So I'm very cautious when I talk about bankruptcy. I'll ask you. I'll be like, is this safe for me to say, or what, but a lot of it, I'm like, go talk to to an attorney near you. Like that's, I'm not, when I get private messages, because I don't want to put somebody in a situation where they're screwing themselves completely. Right. But I also know technically I have no legal ramifications.
Yeah, I just can't help but to notice, Dave Ramsey isn't giving advice and then saying, I suggest that you turn inward in your own community and talk to a professional and to expand on this so that you can do something that is safe and correct for your family, right? Like, I'm not hearing that.
No, never. No. He's the guy that knows everything.
Yeah. And I hate to pick on Dave Ramsey because he's just one of many, many, many people in this space that,
he's the big name, man. I mean, he's the one everybody knows. And even in like local groups and things, people will be like, this is my financial situation. I was thinking about bankruptcy, and 37 comments of all use Dave Ramsey. And I'm the one like, hey, you know what? I know a local bankruptcy attorney. People paid the money. And my parents paid the money for the Dave Ramsey crap stuff. Sorry. And they were still broke for a long time.
There's a lot of people out there who fall into the Dave Ramsey camp, and I don't want his legal team to be coming after our podcast. You know, I know I've said this before, but he doesn't have any financial or economic training. He's not a lawyer, and it's really important that if you're getting financial advice from somebody, that you understand their background and where they come from.
Yep.
And yet also should understand that people like financial managers, which is a lot of people have them. If you have money, you've probably got a financial manager. These people are not trained in bankruptcy. I filed for financial managers, and I've also had financial managers who have come to my space to learn more so they can take it back to their own clients. So just because somebody knows about money doesn't necessarily mean that they understand about debt. Right. And so you have to be able to differentiate these things. You have to be able to, understand the difference between an abundance mentor and a licensed attorney. These are two very different people, right? So the second issue outside of legal responsibility is something that I hadn't really thought of until I did some research, but it makes sense. The spirituality beliefs and the experiences of that person who's trying to sell you something, right? Like what motivates them? Have they experienced trauma? Are they coming from a particularly religious background that may not be the same as yours? These are going to be some issues that are going to start to arise if you're following a self-help guru, because they're very passionate and they changed their life. Joe Rogan, for example, right? Like the first time I heard about Joe Rogan, I was horrified. It was very clear that he had suffered trauma. He was in an obsessive mode, and it was pretty clear from the outside looking in that he probably could have used a therapist. But he channeled his energy into something that a lot of people are very proud of. He channeled all of his energy into physicality and his own weird beliefs. A lot of people ascribe to them, and that's fine, but they aren't coming from a place of training. Right. I think they're probably coming from a place of trauma. Right. And that doesn't necessarily give you the best path, right? When we learn our own stuff from trauma, we're not really able to teach other people the way that it really should be.
Right. Like trauma, I hate to say this but I've seen it in my own world. Trauma survivors attract other trauma survivors.
Yes.
And that is not always the best outcome when that is the only thing. Like, it's very touchy. Obviously, we both have our own traumas.
Sure.
But, when that is what is pulling you to that person, I relate to them because of that trauma. And so I will put all of my faith and energy into what they're saying. It can lead to complete disaster. And so that's definitely, you need to know.
It's an echo chamber. I mean, when you're sitting down in misery with everyone else who's had the same type of misery as you think that the solution that they've found is going to be the solution for you. And we go on to, another concern about this is cultural misconceptions, right? Like advice or messages that are safe for example, a man may not be the best advice for a woman. I'm not saying that, that it is or it isn't, but, culturally speaking too, we've got race, gender, ethnicity, and different people value different things and approach problems in a different way. And those things are not acknowledged in this one size fits all, helper space.
Yep. I mean, I can think of 100 different reasons why, as a white woman, my experience is not going to equate to a black woman in certain lanes. I have certain privileges, which is crap. We should all be equal, obviously. There's a chance that a black woman I'm speaking to is not going to have the same opportunity to do the things I've done. Just like my farm. I have a friend who is a Black woman who has had to fight to own land. And we just bought a house with land.
Yeah.
She's had to fight to be able to get a piece of land to farm. I don't understand why it's such a problem, but the cultural divide is huge. And I didn't think about it being such a problem.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely impacts, and something, that me, a privileged white woman, something that works for me is not necessarily going to work for you, Kristen, and it's most certainly not going to work for a Hispanic individual who's, working in a factory and looking at different issues, right? I mean, there's so many different things that we're worrying about, and we have to check our own privilege and remember that, somebody else who's dispensing this advice isn't really giving it to us specifically. They're giving it to literally every single human being with ears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And whoever will catch or pay the money, that's who they're trying to get. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but it is. It's again, it's all rooted in capitalism. And the more we talk about it, it's making me mad.
Well, and it leads to the fourth problem. We've got, no legal responsibility. What motivates the self-help influencer? We've got the cultural and gender and ethnic misconceptions. But the biggest problem, why we're probably talking about it is because it's so easily consumable that it's overconsumed on a mass level, and people substitute it for actual treatment and therapy for these very deep-rooted issues, right? Therapists are trained. If you've ever been to one, you don't just go to them one or two times. They don't just knock you out with everything they know and then you just walk out smarter. It is a process because it takes time to learn about what your behaviors are, where they come from, why you do them, what made you feel like that was, the right way to do them. And it walks you through this. And all of this self-help stuff is really going to make you feel like you should be further ahead than you are. And you're still not even really doing the work that needs to be done.
The one thing I will say, and maybe this is my naivete, there are times where I will see a 15-second TikTok and be like, holy shit, that's me. That makes sense. And then I'm like, well, it gets me. And then I'll bring it up to my therapist and she's like, that's not exactly how that works. So, I mean, at least I have a therapist to bounce this back at.
Yeah.
But still, I know that the overconsumption it gets me daily. Freaking daily, man.
I will expand too and say that I avoided therapy for much of my life because I honestly thought I was therapizing myself. I thought that and before I went to therapy, I probably would have thought very differently about this episode. I would have been consuming, the Mel Robbins and the Brene Browns all day long, thinking that those things were how I was regulating and learning to take care of myself. It was only when I went to therapy that I realized we do not self-therapize, okay? We don't do that. We revert back to old patterns unless we are superhuman and we need time to process. It takes time to change a mindset. It takes time. That's not to say that a few well-placed cliches haven't helped me tremendously. And I want everybody to know that one of my favorite lines is, let me see, it's done is better than perfect. Number one, it's a catchy little cliche, but I think about it all the time because I have trouble starting things because I'm afraid I need it to be perfect. So done is better than perfect. And the second one is sometimes clarity only comes with action. I love those two phrases, but they aren't going to solve all my problems, right? Done is better than perfect really means that I need to start the project. Why don't I start it? What are the habits? What are the things I need to change there? And, I don't have to be perfect at what I do, but I actually needed my therapist to reiterate this many times with me, even though the phrase spoke to me. And the same with, sometimes clarity only comes with action. That means you just gotta step into the space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great little one-liners that I have on stickers on my iPad, but they represent a lot more work and discussion and a lot deeper concepts than what you're conveyed in a sticker, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Manifestation culture definitely ignores poverty, chronic stress, disability, any real world barriers that we have, right?
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite phrases is fuck it, because that motivates me one way or another. I'm like, well, I'll get it done, fuck it. And it's probably not healthy. Probably, yeah, I shouldn't give that as advice.
Well, I would say it's probably healthy if you've been an obsessive controlling person and you are now realizing that you have to start letting go and you're incorporating the fuck it mindset into your daily activities and you're moving forward. But if you're ADHD like you and I, the fuck it mentality isn't always the best one to go after, because we will justify just saying F it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, yeah.
Let's be honest. F it is a way of coping, right? And sometimes it's healthy and sometimes it's not.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you know me. I always come in with all my therapist's words in my ears.
Didn't you have a psychology minor or something in college?
Oh, I was a psychology major. I had two majors, psychology and sociology. So I'm fascinated with how people think and how they interact with one another. I am fascinated with those things.
Yeah, that makes sense that you would therapize yourself as well.
It makes sense that I thought I could.
Right. I just do it because I think I know everything. But, whatever.
Yeah. And when we are talking about therapy and mental health and all of these things, I really want to point out that financial trauma really does affect decision making.
Mm-hmm.
I say it a lot, but people who are physically abused are almost always being financially abused, having some type of financial trauma, whether you were abused that way or you experienced traumatic events as a result of financial problems, right? You're a child who you had to go live in a homeless shelter, right? These things are traumatic experiences, and they also change how we receive information. That's something we've learned a lot in therapy, right? Got to figure out the traumas and work through them so that you can kind of get past that stuff. And trauma significantly impacts financial decision making. Financial trauma impacts it. They're almost always negative. There's not many good outcomes from trauma. We think we're stronger, we're more capable, but really we built up a lot of walls that don't make a lot of sense once we're outside of the trauma. So, the way we see the impacts of trauma are anxiety and avoidance and impulsivity and, compulsive spending and compulsive hoarding, right? All of those things. Yeah.
I feel attacked right now.
Do you feel like I'm speaking right to you right now? I see you squirming in your seat.
Absolutely.
For those of us watching on YouTube, you can see Kristen squirming around. She is not comfortable with this conversation. Let me ask you: Do you avoid financial tasks like bill paying, or do you make rash decisions?
Yes. Always.
Do you hoard? Or do you have a little hoarding in you?
I can't even lie about this because you've been to my house.
I have been to your house. I know the answer to that. A scarcity mindset comes into hoarding. A scarcity mindset really, really applies here. And, I see hoarding in a totally different way than I ever did. It looks to me like mental health issues in severe ADHD and probably trauma in there somewhere. And all of these things. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know, like, one of the biggest things that I never understood as trauma when I was a kid. It, sucked, was food scarcity. My parents were low income. We would have to go to the food pantry, and that's all well and good. But there was a time where there was literally one can of food in the house. That was it. There was no other option. And it was two cans. It was mixed vegetables and lima beans. And my dad was like, you have to eat this or you're going to bed hungry. And I am 41 years old. That happened when I was 5.
Yeah.
And I still see the entire situation in my head. And I still can't eat a lima bean, but I have a full refrigerator. I have 2 full standing freezers. Oh, I have a second, 3. I have so many freaking places. It's almost like food hoarding because I'm afraid that my kids are going to get to a point where we have one can.
All right.
And it's fucked up. I hate it.
Well, I mean, and that is a very truthful statement. I think a lot of people listening right now are starting to identify with some of that. And it took me a little while to understand, Kristen, that when we're talking about trauma, it doesn't necessarily mean that, that somebody came in and beat the living crap out of you and scared, and did something like that. Although that, of course, would cause trauma.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to understand that traumas can seem small to the people on the outside, right? We do not survive childhood without experiencing endless numbers of trauma because of who we are in that phase, right? The first time our parents leave us home alone, it's very traumatic. The first time we have a babysitter, right? These things are traumatic to us. Now we look at them and be like, oh, you're going to be fine. But these are cumulative traumas, and everybody has some serious ones in their life, even if their own parents would say, she had a great life. She lived just fine. I was a great mom. We all have traumas, and some of them are much more significant than others, but they all feel the same.
Oh, yeah.
They feel the same. And it's important to understand that those are largely what control a lot of our behavior, our good behavior and our bad behavior. A lot of times our bad behavior, our bad habits, or those things we don't like about ourselves exist because of previous traumas. And knowing that is important. My therapist would be so proud of me that we're talking about this stuff today.
Yeah. Mine would too if I gave her the link.
Mine hasn't asked for the link. That's for sure. And to be clear too, underlying mechanisms that can impact financial decision making are going to be like, there are neurobiological changes that matter. Emotional dysregulation, that inability to speak up or receive criticism means we're not going to go and we're not going to talk about our problems with others because we can't receive the criticism that we know is coming. That's a big one that I've been working on. I have been working a lot on receiving criticism because I would say that I had been hypercritical to criticism, and it was holding me back because I wasn't asking for more help. I didn't want people to know how much I didn't know. And I was afraid to receive criticism. It always hurt my feelings so much that I tried to avoid conversations that might lead to that. And so I've changed. I've been changing little baby steps thanks to my therapist. So, if this sounds like you, if anybody's listening out there and this sounds a little bit like you, I want you to know that you're not alone. But you also are probably not going to find your salvation in a $111 TikTok series, right? About anything.
Right.
Yeah. Systemic inequality, discrimination, and learned behaviors from our parents. Our parents have been traumatized too. We've talked about this, but these are all things that lead to and can impact our financial decision making. And none of those are cleared up by a quick 15-second TikTok video.
Right. Exactly. And you really can't manifest things like, I don't know, a chicken laying an egg into January.
Right.
It doesn't matter how hard you try. That's just not going to work.
It's funny that you say that because I always use the line, you can't ask a fish to climb a tree, right? And you can't ask a fish to climb a tree. And a lot of times, some of the information that we're getting, the answer is climb a tree. And we're not acknowledging that that's not who we are, that's not how we're built, that's unrealistic. We're not going to stick with that. We're going to fail pretty quickly because that's not what we were designed to do. And I think understanding who you are and being honest about that goes a long way. We got any, you got some, you got any of these influencers over in the homesteading space? People who tell you that you can just grow all your food. They don't acknowledge that there could be all your seeds could be washed out.
So what's funny is there are and there aren't. It's a weird road, that homestead garden lane. I mean, there's people that are like, just throw the seeds in the ground and everything will be perfect. And then there's me, where I'm like, I planted an entire garden and it flooded, and now I'm planting it again in July, and I'm exhausted and I'm over it and I hate everything. And the thing is I don't know how it's a weird, different world, but we're all like hyping each other up, and nobody's gatekeeping information. Nobody's saying, here's how well, that's not true. I do have a friend who was planting people's gardens and charging, but she was doing it rightfully so. It's not as.
So you're saying that the influencers haven't gotten into that space and told you that these types of chickens will be the best, and if you just have this electric fence, it'll solve all of your problems, and if you just have this chicken coop, everything will be great.
Realistically, I mean, I know they're out there, but I don't see them on TikTok, so probably that's why I don't know that they're out there. It's in my opinion, it's a different community, and I don't know why.
It sounds like it's a community that influencers haven't infiltrated yet and found a way to make money off of their own selves.
Dang it. Maybe it's because we're all too like hyper fixated on, keeping things alive and growing things. Like, but the thing is there is a myth about homesteading and farming in general. And I think that's something that has been monetized by people who are like, you can just buy, there's a guy who wrote a book, how to buy a farm with, I don't remember I honestly don't know, because I didn't read the book because I already had a farm. But it was basically glancing over how much it actually costs.
Yeah.
How much work it is. I just said the other day on TikTok, I think, I have no idea how people think you can save money by having a homestead. I was led to believe, so there are influencers out here, Instagram influencers, that's the problem, that you can have this big, beautiful farm and life, and it's super easy, and all you have to do is just buy the farm and buy the coop and buy the chickens and buy the pigs and buy the this and whatever. It's physically exhausting. It's financially draining. It is not cheap. You do not save money, for God's sake.
No. Listen, I know that your community has a lot of good people, and it. I mean, you guys really do. But your industry has this too, because let me tell you something. Your homestead farm did not look the way I thought it would, because I've seen a lot of glossy pictures on the internet.
You were like, there's actual shit everywhere.
Look like, it's just a woman in a bonnet, and she's got a basket, and everything's in raised beds, and everything is perfect, and there are no pests, and there are no animals,
and there's no weeds.
And in my mind, you're going to be super, super successful, and this is clearly the way to do everything, and anybody buying groceries at a grocery store is an idiot. So I know that if I went down your rabbit hole, I'd find all the influencers that tell me that this is going to be inexpensive, easy, and if it's not, come over here. We've got a product for you. Because I've been in Tractor Supply. I've been in those places. There's a lot of stuff they're selling, just like they're selling everywhere else, trying to make you think that it's going to be easier and better. And so I know that those people are in your space too. They're just doesn't sound like they're quite so obvious, and they're not like maybe in the internet space.
Well, I think that's where it's at. I think it's more the big stores and this, because I mean, realistically, farming has been around forever.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always been farms. There's always been people raising animals and doing this. It's become more hip
Yeah.
to homestead and have chickens and have this and have that in the recent years. And that's not why I did it. We did it because I don't trust the government and I don't want to buy groceries at the store. There are people that are like, hey, buy this and your plants will grow better. But again, it is the larger corporations. Most of us are like, just use cow crap. Just plant where your chickens poop. Like,
Yeah.
a
You
lot
guys
of
are
us
the salt of the earth. You guys are the salt of the earth. Because I
but
mean,
it's exhausting.
I'm just thinking about this space, just knowing how non-farmy people would bastardize this system up and have everything monetized. And I know that they're monetizing a lot, but at the end of the day, and listen, that's really what we're talking about, is monetizing other people, monetizing ideas that they sell to you with the belief that if you just pay the money and follow these 4 steps, that everything is going to be great. Here's what I am taking away from this episode, though, Kristen. It sounds like there's some space for some influencing in the homesteading space. We need to figure out what your funnel is going to be and what your call to action is going to be, because that's what I'm hearing right now.
We're all poor because we're homesteaders, and so we can't afford to buy. Like, I'm like,
but Kristen, that's the problem. The less resources people have, the more desperate they become, and the more they try ridiculous things that they think are going to work. So I'm it's tongue in cheek, because I'm not, it doesn't sound like y'all need anything, and you certainly don't need anybody coming in and scamming you. But that's the reality, right?
Right. I mean, here's the thing. One more thing. We scam ourselves into thinking if we just do this, we can make money. We can sell our eggs and pay for our feed and our house. That was a whoo-hoo. Nope. I was like, I'm going to get these pigs and I can sell the piglets. In order to get to possibly having piglets, I have to raise these pigs to like a year old. They're 6 months old now. And I have to make sure they can actually breed each other, which didn't think that one through. And then I have to keep piglets alive, and then hope that the now saturated market of this specific breed of pigs desaturates. I didn't think it through, but the Instagram stories and the TikTok stories of, oh, these are the greatest animals ever, you could have them on your farm. That's where the influencing comes in.
Sure.
And then we screw ourselves over.
It's all the little things that are going to make things easier, and that we could do. We could jerry rig, we've had, thousands of years of farming. We do know the concepts, but let me tell you something. There's a lot of shit being sold in Tractor Supply Company every single day of people trying to maximize, thinking they're going to get an edge, right?
Yep.
And it sounds to me like what the homesteading space needs is somebody who can put forth an honest assessment of do's and don'ts and things to think about before you go into it. Maybe that's your lane. Maybe you should be...
that. I did. I have a video that every once in a while starts picking up views, and I'm like, so you want to be a homesteader? And then I lay out all the reasons to not do it.
You should just put them all in a PDF and clean it up and sell it for 99 cents on your website. See, we'll sell it here for you. Put it together. We'll throw it up on our website for you. I mean, listen, I don't want to discourage people from living their dream. And I'm an influencer on the internet, and I get clients from it, and my goal is to make money too. But I'm also there because I really do care, and I am trying to help. And I show that every single day by offering things to my followers that don't cost any money.
Right.
And I am not on the internet to become rich. I am on the internet to share what I know. I am a bankruptcy lawyer to hopefully someday become rich, well, we'll see how that goes because,
It's
thankfully.
going so great right now.
Well, I'm busy, but bankruptcy is not a high profit lane for lawyers. So it's not like I'm going to be, I'm not going to be the big dog, but
We'll be rich because of our podcast, because we're hilarious. Hey, I'm manifesting it, Adrienne. I'm manifesting it.
And I support that. I just think that every single day we get further and further from anybody wanting to advertise on our podcast.
Listen, I am willing to go bottom
okay
of the
with
barrel
that,
here.
but I mean, listen, if you want to advertise on our podcast, we are here for that.
Oh, yeah.
But you and I didn't set out to do this to be rich. That's for damn sure.
No,
I'd be doing something else if I was trying to be rich.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'd be doing. I would not be taking advice from every single person on the internet.
I don't either.
I want to wrap this one up with some healthy mindset habits that do support financial and emotional well-being. We talk about this a lot, getting practical tools in place, right? And those are going to be things like budgeting, therapy, support groups. And listen, the internet is a good place for support groups. You got your Reddits, you've got your Facebook groups. Again, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. And remember, there's a lot of personalities and nobody knows, unless the group is being led like by a bankruptcy lawyer, you're really just getting people's opinions. But it is a good place to start to get some support or help,
Right.
And I want to say too, and this is a big one, for me, is community. Shame lives in darkness. When you're willing to say it out loud, I have a problem, I got some debts, I don't know what to do, I'm just really freaking out here. Once you say it out loud, you put it out into the universe, it becomes easier to manage. It really honestly does. So taking away the shame and the embarrassment, understanding that you don't need to suffer in order to, you're not paying any dues here. And the last thing is humor.
I like dark humor.
Yeah. Humor and boundaries. Having some boundaries. Those are good. But these are practical things, right?
Yeah. The boundaries. Super important. If you don't know how to do those, go to therapy. Because that's how I had to learn.
Yeah. I'm still learning. Still
struggling.
Working. Still struggling. But
the thing is, we're all human. We're all human. We're all going to screw up. We're all going to think, wow, that's a great idea. They know what they're talking about. I'm going to try that. It's part of the human experience.
Exactly.
Trying to succeed and grow and everything. You never know what's going to work until you try it. Just don't spend your life savings trying it.
Yeah, put some boundaries up, and limit the amount of money that you spend on these types of things. Have a budget so you can keep track of things, so you can see what you're spending. That's something we always circle back to from a financial standpoint. There are really good support groups out there. Be open and honest about it. Stop suffering in silence. It's not helping. It's going to make the situation worse. I promise every single one of you out there listening, I'm talking to you. This silence that you're living with, the secrets, they're eating you up from the inside out. No comment from Brene Brown or anybody else is going to change that unless you're ready to step in and open up and set your boundaries and take care of yourself. Get sleep, right? We need sleep in order to make thoughtful decisions, and don't bypass the humor, because without humor, we don't what's the point?
We would not survive. We would not survive without it.
Well, it's okay to dream, hope, wish, but you can also take naps, ask for help, throw away the one book that told you that debt is a choice. My book does not say that, by the way. You don't throw my book out.
Crap, did you just tell me about throwing your own book out?
No, I don't throw away one that says debt is a choice, because I don't believe that. But we also invite all of our listeners to share their self-help horror stories or manifestation fails. I'd like to hear what everybody else has to say. I know my sister paid like $50 for 15-minute guided facial yoga classes off of Instagram. Now she's an artist, she's a singer, she's a musical theater, she runs a nonprofit,
Right.
she teaches, so she's got a lot of, she's like, it was helping. I was like, did you really need to pay that? I mean, once you did it once, couldn't you just like do it yourself in a mirror? She's like, well, I
Right.
mean, it was guided. I'm like, so yeah, I told my sister I'd be talking about her on this podcast today, but she's no different than the rest of us. I bought plenty of stupid stuff on the internet that I thought was going to help me.
When are you going to try goat yoga?
Oh, I don't have a problem with goat yoga. Goat yoga. Oh, I want to do goat yoga. Are you kidding me? I thought you said goat yogurt, and I was like, I don't care. I eat goat cheese. Goat yoga sounds absolutely delightful, but it's a gimmick, and I'm sure it costs more money. And I'm not sure that the yoga benefits would be any better than the yoga I do down the street, but it would be fun to hang out with a goat. So I'm not going to lie. If you get goats, are you going to have a yoga class?
I'm not getting goats. I had goats for 2 weeks. I said, I'm going to get milk from these goats. I'm going to make goat milk soap. I'm going to make goat this, goat that, goat whatever. 2 weeks. And I sold them. And I said, get them out of here. So, and I did not make my money back. I sold them at a loss because I was like, nope, no, thank you.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about, Kristen.
But
I'm talking about thinking, yeah. Oh, geez. Do you hear what do you hear what I'm dealing with? We just did a whole episode of why something isn't going to save your finances, and this one now wants to buy a cow. So not a surprise. This is a constant. This is constantly
cow cuddle sessions. Fluffy cow cuddle sessions.
Okay.
People would pay for that.
I think people would pay for that. I do think that people would pay for that, but I'm not encouraging you at this point because you are a hot mess and we need to pull back.
A little bit. All right.
All right.
Manifest, but don't financially screw yourself. I think that's what I'm taking.
Absolutely. And self-confidence is good. Say nice things to yourself. Look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself you're a badass. You're a boss bitch today. Whatever it does. I mean, it really does help with your self-confidence. But you don't need to pay, $98 and get a PDF to tell you to look in the mirror and say nice things to yourself. All right? I just gave that to you free. No donations even accepted on that one. You're welcome for that.
But sponsors, absolutely.
Sponsors, hey, knock us. Listen, I almost said knock us up.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today on High Heels and Hay Bales. If you laughed, learned something, or just had a good time, make sure to follow wherever you listen.
And don't forget, we've got even more for you. Head over to highheelsandhaybales.com and subscribe to our newsletter and Substack for exclusive behind-the-scenes content, bloopers, and tips you didn't even know you needed.
You can also connect with us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Send us your questions, funny stories, or topic ideas, and we'd love to hear from you.
Until next time, stay grounded, stay laughing, and stay out of trouble. Well, mostly.
See you next week.